Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 13 of Learning Outside the Lines with Kyle and Glenn, or Glenn and Kyle. It doesn't matter.
Nope,
Glenn,
it
what happened?
doesn't.
You were here, man.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna throw that little curveball at me. Well, see, funny thing is, I anger shaved it, and then Adrian helped me finish the job. But it was pretty. My neighbors probably think I'm really weird. Well, more weird now than they did. One of them caught me literally anger shaving it in the driveway. I just couldn't take it anymore. Just had to go. Had to go.
I just anger lose it.
There you go.
It just disappears over time, all on its own.
Yeah,
it might not be due to anger, though. I don't know.
I doubt it.
We're excited everybody join us again today. We're excited because our special guest is an elementary school teacher. We haven't had an elementary school teacher join us yet, and that perspective has been missing, so we're excited to have it. So Olivia Harbin is a fourth grade gifted math and science teacher over at in the Beaufort city system. I believe it's in the Senior Academy Elementary School, but we'll get her to confirm that when she comes on with us. But we're really excited about that perspective. So let's get right into it. Glenn, what's going on, man? What's something good you can tell us?
Well, something good. I had a student from 2 years ago, back when I taught ninth grade for like 1 year. It was like a split year. And I experimented with doing something that I absolutely love now, which are feather circles. And it's a whole writing process. But basically, this student emailed me out of the blue the other night, and they came across their zine, and they came across some of the writing they did, and it just took them back to that ninth grade moment. And they're going to be a senior next year, and they just they said they've been really anxious and really just going through a tough time, like a lot of us, and finding that just brought back a lot of positive memories. And so they decided to send me an email and thank me. And it was just one of those moments, where it just all seems really worth it. So it was really good.
Yeah. Mine has to do with our neighborhood. This past week, this goes along with what we did the week before that, where I talked about how people were putting teddy bears and stuffed animals in their windows for kids to find. So we did the same thing with cut out Easter eggs throughout the neighborhood. So kids and really adults and teenagers alike could walk around and count them and find them, which is great. If our neighborhood's anything like yours, Glenn, more people are kind of walking outside, getting out, which is interesting. I feel like people in general are all being a bit more active than they normally could be.
No, definitely.
Yeah. So anyway, just thought that was a great way to do it. Our neighborhood continues to do that. And also, fun fact, we bring Olivia on. Olivia is a neighbor of mine. So she's all part of this too. It's exciting to be experiencing kind of the community growth in the neighborhood right now.
I love that that's such a place of positivity for you lately. Like that's just really cool. Like your stories that keep coming out of that. I mean, just really in the last month. Imagine what this is going to look like, another month from now, or even over the summer, how this is going to continue to blossom. To use that flower metaphor.
I've always thought highly of my neighborhood. I just think even more highly of it now.
That's cool.
I might have been taken for granted for a while just how good the people in my neighborhood is. So it's a highlight for sure.
That's really good. Let's
cool. Get into it, sir. I think you're going to go into a deeper dive into something you've already shown us before, right? So what is our digital teaching hack?
So I wanted to go a little bit further into Actively Learn. I had talked about how I was going to try to use it for an assignment that kind of, it's a little bit of a heavier reading. This is for my mythology class. And the last time I used Actively Learn, I did very standards-based GOK level question stems, and it went well. It was good, but I don't really know how much the kids enjoyed it. So I wanted to kind of vary it up, because if the kids aren't getting anything out of the stories, being able to answer questions about them it's not really the same. So they need to be able to do both. So this is a story that is something with just Egyptian mythology. And what I had them do was actually submit memes to just show me that they understood what they were reading. And a couple of them didn't end up like totally safe for work, so I'm not going to show those. But there are a couple that are just...
In their defense, it's mythology, right?
Right. No, it's totally okay. And we've kind of built that culture where it's definitely a little bit of a lower bar. But, so it's a lot of fun. So here is a part in the story where Ray lays a curse upon a goddess and that she shouldn't be able to bear any children. And so they posted this wonderful cream here that's it looks like a nut-based cream, highly organic, very vegan, right? And it's children be gone. So I thought that was pretty great. Here's another example where there's a part where there's this big betrayal inside the family, and there's this wonderful picture here that they included. It looks like Goofy and Minnie kind of, maybe having a moment. So I just thought it was really creative, and clearly the students are paying attention to what's going on in the story. They have to do a lot of high level thinking in order to find an image that goes along with the text. I would argue that this is just as much of a lift as it is answering like a skills-based question, because they have to do all of the processing, the mental work, the critical thinking that they would to answer that question. Now they just have to find and curate images on their own. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely just as cognitively high level. So yeah. And they're having fun.
I mean, you know me, I love visual literacy and what you can do with it. And like you said, it taps into parts of the brain that have to do the same cognitive lift as if you were reading paragraphs of information, then trying to, make it into something that's a bit more succinct,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then when you really develop it with students, there's all kinds of neat reflective and metacognitive work you can do with students in that too. So bravo for you trying to do that and push it virtually. We know
it's just fun. Yeah. And Actively Learn's a tool that can do that. So just to kind of put that out there, it doesn't have to just be, STEM-based skills questions all the time.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into our segment we call What's the Good Word? So What's the Good Word is when we get a chance to bring in our guest. And today's guest, as we introduced a little bit earlier, is Olivia Harbin. And Olivia is a neighbor of mine. She's a fourth grade teacher over at Buford Senior Academy Elementary. And she works with students that are gifted in both math and science. And of course, she can tack on to that once we kind of get her on here in just a second. But we're really, again, excited to have her along because we haven't had the elementary perspective yet.
Yeah, that's huge. That's cool.
Hi, Olivia.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Hello.
Thank you. Did I get that right? So it's gifted fourth grade math and science?
It's a regular ed classroom, but I have a gifted cluster for math and science.
Got it.
Very cool.
So I get to do fun stuff with them.
All right. And I think it's good for people to know, too. I mean, you were a veteran elementary teacher. You've been doing this for a minute, right? How many years is this now?
This is year 20.
That's huge,
Yeah. So I've been doing this a good long time. And this is definitely new territory. It's kind of neat.
Yeah.
All in elementary, 20 years?
Yes, sir. All in elementary.
Wow. You have to understand, our high school brains can't fathom spending that much time with children that young, day in, day out for years.
No.
Now I've taught every grade level.
Okay.
Wow.
I've taught every grade level, and I've taught I was the RTI teacher for a while. I was the gifted teacher for a while. I've done different things within the elementary school, but I've been in the elementary school the entire career.
Even kindergarten?
I did kindergarten with RTI. I did not have a kindergarten classroom.
Okay. Well, bless.
And I did kindergarten specials.
Big bless. Oh, wow.
That was fun with kindergarten.
Yeah, I bet. That's, yeah. Like Kyle said, our high school brains.
Hey, everybody's got to do it, right? Like I imagine Spending time
Everybody
with
has a
teenagers.
mix.
That line
Somebody,
sounds awful.
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. We wanted to ask you a couple of questions that we think you can speak to in your experience, especially right now. Like you said, you have a very positive attitude when you say, this is kind of fun, right? This is kind of interesting. This is a new landscape for me after doing the normal thing year after year. So the first question we kind of wanted to ask centered around, supporting students and parents. What does that look like right now for you in the elementary level?
So for me in the elementary level, I don't know that it's all that different from you guys. I'm emailing parents a lot. I'm calling them. I think more parents have my phone number than have ever had my phone number.
Right.
I call the students, I text them, and I have individual conversations with parents about, oh, this kid's not doing well online. She needs a paper copy of everything. So I email her a paper copy of stuff. And then there's other parents that can't do the online for different reasons, and they get a paper copy delivered to them. And then, other parents, I can't log in. So there's lots of parents. I think I've made more phone calls and more emails and Zoom calls and FaceTime than ever before. But it's really good, and it's starting to really smooth out and do a lot better.
That's
What's
cool.
that, so I remember my time in the classroom, it was a goal of mine to always be communicating with parents and make sure that parents knew what was going on and trying to set that tone. But I would honestly feel like it was a very one-sided conversation more often than not. Are you finding that you're actually having higher engagement from your parents right now? Maybe the same ones over and over again, but just what is that like right now for you?
Yeah, so we've always communicated with parents, and I've taught them how to sign up for Power School reminders online, and I'm like, that's really important now because I can't be there to say, hey, I need Susie to turn this in, or Johnny hadn't done this yet. And I'm emailing the students because all of our students have email accounts. So I'm emailing the students and the parents, and sometimes I'm emailing grandparents, and I'm finding out who is in charge of the child during the day. Because some of them I'm emailing the grandparents. I'm saying, hey, grandma, can you help him do this? And the first couple of weeks trying to figure out who was helping the children during the time was a challenge, but I think they're starting to get in the swing of things and really be smooth with this journey.
Okay. Yeah. It's it's a journey for them definitely too, just as much of it is for us. And I'm kind of having the same experience where it's almost like it was not even really real, I think, for some folks. And, now it's definitely, a thing. So I think we're all kind of in problem solving mode. But I like what you said about, figuring out who the person you need to talk to is. I think that's really important. So.
Yeah, I definitely take that for granted, right? That, I think about my own daughter spending her days with her grandparents while I'm working and everything, and that they're the ones really kind of in charge. And I also think about, and this is stereotypical, but I apologize, but I do wonder about, those grandparents who may be older and less tech savvy, and even the struggles they're having trying to help that child navigate that as well. So the next place I wanted to go is because you're working with math and science. What kind of advice would you give other elementary school teachers or really just parents for that matter about engaging students right now in math and science remotely?
Well, there's lots of good websites out there that help children become proficient and fluent with their math facts, and can also help children discover more stuff with science. One of my favorites is Prodigy. Prodigy is a interactive math game, and it's kind of like Pokemon is the best way I can describe it. And through this, they can make their own little person, and they go and deliver spells and stuff, and they can go at their own little pace. And it's one of the things that I've used within the classroom for several years. What I like about it is it can take the children to their level, and then a lot of times it gets too hard for them. Like some of my really bright students will be doing 7th grade and 8th grade work, and I'm like, oh, I see why you're having a hard time with that. I'm not telling you the answer because it's just going to get harder. But what I can do within that program is assign them topics. So I'll assign them topics within what we're studying so that they can kind of see what's going deeper within our objectives for right now. Another one that I really, really enjoy, especially for the early grades, is Greg Tang Math. And Greg Tang has been a very influential person in early childhood development for math. And he has, if you go to his website, gregtangmath.com, it has great resources for building number sense, and he has all of his books online, and you can answer little riddles with them. You can see the different, like he just shows the children how to build that number sense. Like, you know how when you look at a die and you see the 4 dots, that's what he's trying to build is, oh, I know that's a 4 because those 4 dots are always in that pattern, and the X means 5. And he uses very clever little books to help children determine and build that number sense. And he goes on through, he has little rhythms and rhymes for just early numeration, number sense and numeracy, and he goes all the way up through multiplication facts with them. He has little rhymes for multiplication facts. It's really neat.
Well, I know what I'm getting. That's cool. gregtangmath.com.
Greg Tang, T-A-N-G,
Okay.
math.com.
Okay. That's cool.
And it's just a great resource. He has a lot of information on his website. He also has a lot of games on his website. One of my favorite games for students in my grade is Kakuma. And I might be saying it wrong. But Kakuma is this game that takes a good bit of mathematical sense. It's a puzzle game, kind of like Sudoku, but you have to you have to figure out what numbers you have to add together to get the target number. And then after you get all the target numbers together, you have to get the big number in the middle. And he does that for addition, and then he also does one for multiplication. So it's a great way to work on fluency for facts, for addition and multiplication. So the multiplication one, you multiply, and then once you're all done, you have to add. So that one's really fun. Cool. For science, some of my favorites are Mystery Science, and his name is Mystery Science Doug. And he goes through step by step with different science experiments. So he does a little video, and then he stops and you explain it, and then he does a little bit more of a video and you explain it, and then he always has a hands-on thing at the end. I'm 70% sure that one is free right now, but I'm not 100% sure about that. That's cool. I think a few of them are, but not all of them.
Gotcha.
And then the last thing for science that I really enjoy is called Generation Genius. And it's kind of like an updated Bill Nye the Science Guy, but he also has lessons and stuff involved with his. His aren't as interactive. Most of it's just watching a video and then doing stuff. But those are my favorite math and science things to do.
Very cool.
That's wonderful. Yeah, no, I mean, it's, again, we know some of the stuff that maybe our high school level teachers are using, but oftentimes, I mean, we just don't know what's out there for elementary school. And I imagine those that are in your field know about some of those things, but in case they don't, or especially like parents who might need like, oh my goodness, how can I support right now? That's another way they can tap into it. So thanks for sharing the resources.
Yeah. I heard you say 2 things that were just really cool about going deeper on concepts right now as an opportunity. And I think that we had another guest on previously that talked about that as an added benefit. And then also the other
math
thing
specifically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
In math. Yeah.
No, definitely. And just also the whole fluency aspect is really cool. That's something that we talk a lot about. Kyle and I come from a language arts background, so like language fluency, but numeral fluency. And if you build those skills now and make them strong now, that's something that by the time students get to high school, it's a lot easier. So,
Yes.
that's really cool.
They need it by 4th grade. Are we kidding each other?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if Olivia, I had had someone like you as a math teacher in elementary school,
Right?
I wouldn't have failed Algebra 1 in high school. But that's fine. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah, no,
You made it up,
Trig in
passed
college,
in the long run.
failed trig in college. Yeah.
Well, before we get to ending things, one of the follow-ups that I wanted to ask you too is we really want this show to be something that always ends really positively. So, just curious, what has been a surprising kind of like positive moment for you and your kids in the last couple of weeks since this all started?
I have really enjoyed going into their homes. We've always been asked to do home visits, and I've always been a little nervous. I usually meet them at the ball game or someplace like that, because I'm always afraid that they're going to be like, if it was me, I'd be like, oh my God, I got to clean up my house. Yeah. I don't want you to see that I have a messy house. So but I think that kids really just want you to see their life and their stuff. And so it's been the cutest thing to just see them in their home, and they pick up their computer and they like run around the house and they're like, let me show you my dog, it's so cool. And so I've seen all these animals that I've heard about the whole school year, and I'm like, oh, Cooper's so sweet and your bunny's just precious. And so getting to actually see them in their home and it's just been a really good treat. I feel like I'm very much connected to them, and I feel like they feel very much connected and feel a lot safer when we just have those conversations of, let me see your cat, let me see your dog, show me your best dance move. And I think that has really helped them feel less anxious in the whole, I'm never going to get to see my friends again.
Yeah. It's so interesting. You take for granted we've had these virtual tools to be able to do those sort of home visits, and just didn't think about it till it was a necessity. So you don't have to answer this question now because you probably don't know, but it'd be interesting to see if you continued that once we're kind of back in regular school mode. If you take advantage of like, well, hey, let's get online together and you can show me around. Something like that.
Yeah, I probably will do more of that because it has been so neat to be able to see their pets and their brothers and sisters and stuff like that.
That's amazing.
That's cool.
We're going to get into our outro. Right? So if you'll stick around with us, we're going to share something. And this is not meant to be sad in any way, but I think it's important that we start sharing these sort of things with everybody so they can see what's going on. We had a senior in GCPS recently write for the local paper. She goes to GSMST, very articulate young lady, but she just wanted people to kind of know the perspective of what's going on inside a senior's head. So we're going from elementary all the way to the senior experience. The headline kind of says it all. Even when it's a smart and safe decision, it still hurts, right? So she recognizes 100% that we're doing the right thing as a community, as a nation, as a globe for that matter, with everything we're trying to do to combat the pandemic. But her and her fellow seniors are hurting right now. Not having prom and not having the traditional graduation and all the things that I know that she probably feels like she's missing out on. So not going to read the article to you by any means, but she just gives a couple of really solid points about knowing this is the right thing to do, but also knowing that this is a tough goodbye to her career as a public school student up until now. Even when she's looking forward to kind of what comes next. The one thing I'll kind of point out that just like it pinged me a little bit. It says, I realize writing this that I will never show my daughter pictures of my senior prom. Of course, I know that these cancellations are important in saving lives and helping us return to normalcy sooner than later. Even when it's the smart and safe decision to lose something that still hurts. These are milestones in American culture that we will never claim. And while I know that that's kind of a bummer and we don't try to do bummers on the outro, I think it's important that we also deal with some realities of what's going on with these older students. And even a 5th grade student who's going to go to 6th grade, and even the 8th grade student who's about to go to 9th grade, some of these transitional big pieces of what people are experiencing. So we're going to have a chance, I think, to talk to a senior student next week sometime, right, Glenn?
Yeah, we are. I've got one of my students who I've actually taught twice will be coming on next week, so that'll be cool.
So we'll hear directly from them about exactly what's going on. So hopefully that's when we'll get the hope side of this as well, of what's kind of the hopefulness that happens after this, once you've come to terms with this is what's happened, and where we move forward. So anyway, thanks everybody for joining us. Olivia, thank you again for joining us as well. You can find me online on Twitter at the Prof Jones,
and me at gchant668.
All right, continue to join us. We are excited to share all these great stories with you, and we'll catch you around soon.